All right. Hello,
Alrighty.
everyone. And thank you so much for listening in. And I want to say welcome. Welcome to our new project here at CFS Recovery. We are starting something called Recovery Voices. And the goal of this is really to create a space where we aim to elevate and amplify the stories of those who are reclaiming their lives from chronic health conditions. So these are people that are reclaiming their lives from things like ME, CFS, long COVID, post vaccine injury, right? And any other what we would classify as a hypersensitive nervous system condition.
Mhm.
So, here our goal is to really share some real stories of resilience and hard won recovery milestones and just these real lived experiences of those who've recovered or are recovering. So, our aim really, what we're wanting to do here today is to really spark hope, right? That's our main thing here is to create hope for anyone who's happening to listen in, And I know for me, and we'll get into who I've got here because I got this amazing person here with me today. But for me in these interviews, these were just a lifeline during our own
Mhm.
recovery journeys. They're here to, hopefully remind us that we're not alone, that recovery is real and it's possible. So I am just so thrilled to be here today. And so for anyone listening in on our channel who doesn't know who I am, I'm Coach Krista. I'm a coach with CFS Recovery, and I am just beyond honored to get to be here alongside this incredible young woman and a thriver who I've had the honor of working with and being part of her journey. So I've got Chelsea here with me today to share her incredible story. Chelsea, oh my gosh, you have had such an amazing transformation since we first met. I'm thinking back to our time together. I think it was about June of 2024. I'm going to have you share more of your journey, but at your worst, spending days certainly couchbound, often resting in bed, often using a wheelchair, right, to get from place to place. I know you were dealing with tons and tons and tons of symptoms, chest pain, shortness of
Mhm.
breath,
Mhm.
POTS symptoms, exercise intolerance. I mean, on and on to
Yeah.
where you are today, going on mountain vacations and amusement parks and apple picking adventures and some surprise paddle boarding. So you've just transformed. You've got so many wins in reclaiming your health. So I want to give you a big welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me today as part of this kickoff for Recovery Voices. And so I'm going to hand it over to you and have you just introduce yourself a little bit. Let us know who you are, where you're from, how old you are, and we'll jump into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. My name is Chelsea Verbeek. I'm from Canada, Edmonton, and I'm 32 years old, and I got sick when I was 28. So it's been a 4-year journey, and yeah, it's just been such a privilege to work with Krista and the team to get my life back.
That's amazing. Well, thank you again so much for being here. And why don't we start by just going back in time and just let me
Mhm.
know what was your life like before you developed CFS or these hypersensitive nervous system symptoms?
Yeah, so I was always really active, like a super active kid and active into adulthood. So like sports were kind of my world. I played ringette. A lot of people might not know what that is. It's kind of like hockey. And then in university, I got really into powerlifting and I also studied to become a dietitian. So I was working as a dietitian in Hinton. It was so the year before I got sick, it was all the COVID lockdowns and we had some things happen with our jobs because of that we had to move. So we were living somewhere new and it was like the lockdowns and then I was working as a supervisor for 3 different hospitals for the kitchens. So it was like pretty stressful. I'd say like my life was always like kind of I was always kind of like pushing the limits with things. So yeah, that's a bit about me before.
Yeah, and just so interesting to kind of look back at our lives before and maybe not even have that awareness that we were kind of like redlining the engine the whole time.
Hmm.
And some of those we talk about so much in the program, like the black and white behaviors and how extreme we might be in certain areas, and just without that awareness. So, what did it look like for you, like as things kind of started to take a turn for the worse? You said I think you were dealing with this for at least 4 years, coming up to finding CFS recovery. Can you tell us a little bit about that part of the journey? What did that look like for you?
So things started to take a turn for the worst after I got the Pfizer mRNA vaccine in June 2021. I got it for work. I thought it would be prudent because I was working in a hospital setting and I was set to transition into a pediatric setting as well. And then the day that I got the vaccine, I actually had a reaction to it like acutely and had to go to emerge and be monitored. But it all resolved that day, and then I was like fine after until 5 days later when I was like sitting at a Tim Hortons, drinking a coffee, reading some peds nutrition notes to prepare, and like all of a sudden I got this like shortness of breath, like I couldn't take it full breath in. It was like around 40% of what I normally could do. I had this chest pain that would get worse when I stood up and worse when I laid down. And it really freaked me out. So my husband and I went to Emerge again for those symptoms, and nothing came up. Like they run some panels and nothing came up. And then by the time, like it didn't go away even after 3 weeks. I ended up going to like my GP and I was like dismissed for having anxiety, even though like it was like crippling. Like I had to like stop work or I had to delay my transition into peds. And then eventually like I pushed and she did send me to some specialists. So like I kind of went into the like seeing all the different specialists. So like I saw like three cardiologists because I was really concerned about it being myocarditis because I had all the symptoms of myocarditis. But I was kind of like blown off a little bit because nothing came up in my blood work or in my ECG. And even like I had an MRI and it didn't show anything, but I didn't have any symptoms when I had the MRI either. I saw a rheumatologist and I did have tested positive for autoantibodies. I saw a pulmonologist. I saw an ENT. Like I really went hard on the medical route to try to find answers for what was wrong because like I was really debilitated. Like for the first 3 or 4 months, I really tried to push through and do like all of my regular activities. Like I did go into work and it was like so challenging. But eventually, like, because I refused to get the second Pfizer vaccine, they actually put me on a leave of absence because it was mandatory at the workplace to have both doses. But like, to be honest, I really like thought about it. Like, I wasn't just like, no, I'm not going to get it because of this reaction. I was like, oh my gosh, like my job is on the line, but also like my health. So in the end, I decided not to get it. And then was put on a leave of absence, and I kind of noticed my symptoms start to improve a little bit. But then when I went out with a friend skiing, and then everything like took a turn for the worse. And I don't know if you remember, like maybe it was similar to you. Like I felt like in the beginning I could kind of like push through the pain a little bit. It didn't bother me as much. But then eventually it like wears on you. Like it's so much pain all the time. Like so much chest pain and shortness of breath that it like eventually it just became like way too difficult to even leave the house to see family or friends, to go on like to go see them during holidays. Like I basically would get up in the morning, walk 8 steps to my couch and plant myself there for the entire day. And it was like difficult to even get up and use the bathroom. Like I was in so much pain and it would just get worse. And emotionally, it was so terrifying. Like it's like terrifying not knowing why you can't function, why you're in so much pain, and the doctor's not having answers. Like, and then like every night I would go to bed and not really know if I would wake up the next morning for like an entire year because like I was like breathing through a straw and I was really sure I had myocarditis, but the doctors were missing it. After about a year, I was like, okay, I haven't died yet, I guess. So, so I guess like I'm not going to die. And like it kind of like started to shift. Like that started to shift a bit, but I really like didn't have any direction about what was wrong or what to do. Yeah, the first year was like a lot of like I have myocarditis and here's like the panel showing that I do and also trying a lot of different supplements and the like I recover post-vaccine protocols, working with the physiotherapist, just doing like trying anything to help. And then eventually I did get to see a long COVID doctor who diagnosed me with chronic fatigue syndrome and POTS as well. I actually like participated in a study in Calgary for post-vaccine injuries and long COVID. And so it turned out like I did have POTS. And to be honest, I didn't really believe that it was like neurophysiological symptoms for a while.
Yeah.
It took a while for that belief to set in. So like my second year, knowing that I had CFS and POTS, I focused a lot on mitochondria health. And then being a sports dietitian, it's very like mitochondria is like everything in sports nutrition. So I really like took that road. I sent you a picture of some of the pathways that I studied to like figure out what like nutrients I should be taking. Like it was just like way I was way like it was really complicated and I was just doing anything I could to try to alleviate symptoms and get my body back.
Yes.
So that was kind of a bit of my journey
Yeah.
at first.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate how common this story is, right? And it's we're just trying to get better. We're trying to get answers. We end up going down these almost it just feels like rabbit holes. You're going to all these different specialists and everything. And what was that? I guess what was going through your mind at that point? Like you have this incredible background when we can talk about that more because we both have that shared background in healthcare.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have a lot of this understanding yourself. You're dealing with these symptoms that are physical, are real. You've gone from
Hmm.
being this healthy, active person to
Hmm.
all of a sudden overnight barely able to get up off the couch, barely able to walk around your house. I remember that feeling. I had that
Yeah.
myself too, just that complete shutdown that's going on in our nervous system. What was your thought process like? What was going on? Like how were you dealing with that emotionally? What kind of stuff was coming up?
Oh man, I was so angry at the doctors for not investigating more or further, and I felt really lost. I felt really dismissed by the doctors. Honestly, I felt like there was medical misogyny, like my like pain wasn't really being taken seriously, and I was being gaslit by some of the specialists and my own GP. Like I ended up actually like switching GPs because like my original doctor just like wrote it off as anxiety. And I was like, girl, like I need a wheelchair. Like this is beyond like just regular anxiety. So it was really scary because like I was like really, really sure in my mind at that time that I had myocarditis. And I did a lot of research about like when the different markers show up and when they start to disappear. And like we kind of missed windows of when those markers would come up. But at the same time, like all of my tests were coming back normal. So like that, it was just really, really hard. Like all day, I would just like ruminate about how I could get a cardiologist to order me another MRI or how I could get just another test so that I could get like the mega dose of ibuprofen that I thought I needed to like heal from the myocarditis.
Yeah.
But
And it's just
yeah.
wild. I had the same experience going to doctors and being told at that state where you're fully debilitated. Like your life looks, it's
Hmm.
unrecognizable from where you were before to where you are now. And they were like, yeah, it sounds like it's some anxiety. And I was like, I remember that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I know what anxiety is. I know what that is. And sure, I'm feeling some anxiety because my life is at the stake right now. Like it feels like everything is just teetering on the cusp of like what is next. So yeah, of course I'm feeling some of that, but this isn't that. This is definitely something really distinct. And it just felt so dismissive. And I'm so sorry that you had that experience. I don't know if it was like this for you, but it was such a strange experience to have gone from being so integrated into healthcare and being trained
Hmm.
in that and trained in that way of thinking about things to then really in this time of need going to these professionals who should be able to help me
Hmm.
and then feeling really dismissed, right? And kind of left like, okay, so you get the order from for the durable medical equipment, you get the wheelchair, but then what do I do? Who's here to like fill that in and help me figure this out? So I don't know. It's just a strange experience, I
Yeah.
think, especially with that background.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know what the tests mean. You know what they need to order to investigate it. You know, like what all the different specialists do. Yet you have all this abundance of knowledge, yet they're not willing to like investigate or like help you out. They kind of dismiss it as like anxiety or like you're whining about it. And it did feel like my life got hijacked. Like absolutely like I didn't know how to like I before getting sick, I didn't even know how to sit. Like I was like on my feet, go, 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 and then suddenly all I could do was sit and be in pain and not be able to breathe. Like it's like a very scary experience to kind of like have so much reliance on healthcare and it just like falling through for you.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, just like this
Yeah.
trap door opened and I was just like falling through and I'm like, where am I going to land? What is this going to look like?
Yeah. Yeah. What's
And
gonna
be
happen to me?
Yeah, yeah, truly that. What is going to
Yeah.
happen? What is going to happen to my life? And I felt like I was almost like
Hmm.
kidnapped out of my life. My life
Yeah,
like went on and I was missing from it. And so yeah, I get
exactly.
chills thinking about it. Like it's such a wild experience to go through that. And so beyond telling you we think it could be anxiety and running some of these tests, what were the doctors telling you anything else? Were you getting any support or guidance or you were really kind of left to fend and figure it out on your own?
Well, after about a year, I found a new GP who did listen to me and was sympathetic. And then I kind of like moved past pushing that I thought it was myocarditis. And I was like, well, maybe it's long COVID. And he ended up referring me to a long COVID specialist who actually was a really supportive doctor and really understood CFS. So I was like really fortunate that around the like 1.5, 2 year mark, I got a formal like CFS and POTS diagnosis. Like through that study I did in Calgary and through Dr. Bakshi who diagnosed me. So so like for that first year and a half, like it was just I was really at wit's end and felt really desperate. Uh, what's the word? Like hopeless. Like I felt really hopeless about my situation and then getting that diagnosis was like a big relief because the whole time like before that I was like, well, if I just knew what it was, at least I would have some direction on how I could help myself or get better, but I just had no idea what was going on with my body.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
as you're starting to get some of that information and get that clarity, and yeah, I remember the same thing. Well, let me backtrack a little bit if you're okay talking with us. So kind of like edit
Yeah.
there, but like I did want to ask, what was it like your experience, if you feel comfortable talking about this, in a world where like there's some recognition for long COVID. Long COVID had kind of a
Yeah.
moment where there was some awareness that was coming up, which ultimately I think
Hmm.
was helpful for post-viral kind of conditions. And I think it
Hmm.
brought a little bit of more light into just the validity and how real what we're dealing with when we're dealing with something like ME/CFS. But
Yeah.
then you kind of were in like additionally this other little bracket with the post-vaccine injury. And do you feel comfortable speaking to that experience at all for anyone else
Oh,
who?
yeah. Absolutely. Like my injury was a political statement to the doctors. Like it wasn't like I have a problem and I'm suffering. It was like to them it almost felt like, do you believe vaccines are good or bad? And if I was injured, then it meant and they were helping me, then it meant that they thought they were bad. So like it was like this political statement that I would bring up. I have a vaccine injury when I was really asking for help.
Mhm.
And they deny, like, I felt like there was a bias and a denial of care because of the like polarized political atmosphere at the time when it came to vaccines and COVID-19. And then like I'm really glad there was some recognition for long COVID because it is like in the end how I ended up like finding a path to recovery and knowing what was going on. But I really did kind of feel like we were left to like drown. Like there wasn't really very much support and like I couldn't really talk about it with certain people because it was polarizing, which is just kind of insane to me. Like it's like someone's health. It's not a political statement. So
That's
so
so
yeah,
important.
that was really difficult. And like I sent you a GIF or like a an image that was like long COVID, getting a bit of help from NIH, and then it's like vaccine injuries and it's a skeleton drowning at the bottom of the ocean. Like
Right. Yeah. So
yeah.
thank you for talking about this because I think this is so
Hmm.
important and I imagine you're not the only one that's had this experience, right? And so I just want to thank
Yeah.
you for talking so openly about that and that really had to feel not only do you have something that no one's explaining and can give you any guidance on really or much clarity at all, but now you have this sort of this even this niche that's being treated like you said, like it's more of a political standpoint than like I need help.
Yeah.
My health is like doing something
Yeah.
like this is a big deal. So, did you ever get to the point like did you stay the course with really more like the traditional medicine route or did you end up trying like other treatments? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I did try alternative treatments. The first one that I tried was hyperbaric oxygen therapy because there was this biker named Kyle who also got a vaccine injury and I was following his story and that's what he was doing and he said it was helping him. So I did do hyperbarics for like probably 6 months and it kind of helped a little bit. But it wasn't like moving the needle very much for me. Like it would kind of alleviate symptoms, but I still like was sitting on the couch all day. Have it was very difficult for me to go to the bathroom. I still couldn't take care of myself, but it did alleviate symptoms a bit. So I did try that, but it was very expensive. And yeah, so I ended up stopping that. And then I went down, I'm pretty sure I went down more like the medication route after that, where I tried just so many medications. I'll just like name a few of them. Tried like naproxen and colchicine, Lextin, which is an antihistamine, verapamil, prednisone, like low dose naltrexone. I tried like a lot of medications and none of them really helped. And then I went down like the natural path route and tried different supplements like pycnogenol and resveratrol, which is a strong anti-inflammatory. And like those didn't really help. Like at one point I was taking 12 different supplements at the same time. Like it was like a chore to like take all these supplements. And yeah, like it didn't wasn't really helping. But you just never know. Like when you're in that state, you just don't know. Like, well, like you think like maybe the next supplement will help. Like maybe the next thing I do will help. And like you kind of don't want to give up hope at that point. You just like want to keep trying things until you find something that works. But supplements really weren't the answer for me either. And eventually like I saw a herbologist too and like had a tincture and different teas, again, different supplements from her. I did like a parasite cleanse as well. And like that actually did help a little bit, which is kind of gross.
Love
Doesn't
it. I
matter.
love it.
Okay.
Keeping it real. I like because I think it's so important to talk about this stuff, right? Like we are at that point where we've been left to fend for ourselves, right? You start
Yeah.
getting quite desperate, right? I think is the word for it. Like I know that was for me. I'm just as you're
Yeah.
talking, it's just like our stories are so similar. I remember having like my dining room table was just full of supplements and
Hmm.
medications and filling my pill minders
Yeah,
was
me
like,
too.
and you have limited capacity. So you're sitting there like trying to get this all done, holding on to that hope that maybe it's that next one.
Yeah.
I went the herbal route as well. I had this really, it was not very tasty. This tea that I had this
Yeah.
smoothie that I was supposed to make. And I don't know if I've even told you about this one, so I'll share it. We can edit or keep it. But I had this smoothie like cocktail that I was supposed to make with like dried sea cucumbers, persimmons, and like other interesting like animal organ stuff that like the in addition to the herbal teas I was supposed to be drinking. And I was like on the cusp of like I got the blender. I was like I got the sea cucumbers. I like we've been you're
Yeah.
at your wits end trying to find anything, and it's like nothing
Yeah.
that you thought was gonna work has worked or that should work. And now you're at this point where you're like, okay, guess I'm getting gonna try to find anything, something that could make a dent
Yeah.
in this. And so kind of going from that, I maybe this is a good segue into how did you find brain retraining? I mean, we're at the point where we're doing herbal medicines and I'm thinking about sea cucumbers and we're doing all the,
Yeah.
how did you
I
stumble
know,
into,
right?
how did you
Like
find, yeah,
intermittent fasting and a bunch of different diets that like didn't do anything. How did I find brain retraining? Well, I think because I got the diagnosis and I had a doctor who knew that it was like neurological. Like she didn't like push it on me because I really wasn't ready to hear that. I I was like just cruising on YouTube and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna look up like if anybody's recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome. And I came across Raylan Eagle's channel. And everybody in the CFS community, I think, knows about her. I think. Actually, the CFS community in Edmonton doesn't because I told them about her and they're like, who's that?
yeah,
Because they don't really believe in recovery. But yeah, so I came across Raylan Eagle's channel and listened to a few of the recovery interviews from her. And it's funny because like you listen to someone and then they're taking a supplement or they're doing this and you're like, okay, I'm gonna try that supplement again. I'm gonna do this. And eventually she made a video that was like the top ways people recover from CFS. And she brought up brain retraining in that video and three different programs that offered brain retraining. So I actually came across Miguel's program I think at the same time you probably joined. So like we could have been in the same cohort.
oh, that's wild. That's wild to
I
think about it
know.
like that. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but I still like wasn't fully on board. Like I was really skeptical. I was like this like mind body like these symptoms are real. There's something physiologically going on that like I need to pill or medication or something to fix. Like it was still there, right? So I ended up kind of just dipping my toes in because Miguel's program was a kind of one of the more expensive options. So I chose to try out ANS Rewire, which like was a good it was good for where I was at, I would say. Like it was just like a good like it was like
Yes.
inexpensive, like current like
Yep.
the trade currency exchange from Aussie to Canadian was cheaper. So it was just kind of like an easy entry in to try out. And then he explained the science and he explained how like our symptoms are like a messenger from our bodies, that like a message of danger from our bodies, and just like really went into the science of it and then recommended some things to do. So like he has this like rewire technique where you respond, it's like kind of similar, like you respond to symptoms in a way that also wires safety. Because if you have danger and then you wire safety with it, then it theoretically it should reduce symptoms. And then like he was a little bit more strict, like you have to meditate 45 minutes a day. And then he had a chronic pain desensitization soundtrack that I did. And like I think at the time, like that's what I needed. Like I needed somebody to just tell me what to do. If you do these things, you will recover. And I was like, I'm on it. I'm gonna do all of these things. And so I noticed like my symptoms started to reduce like around the 3 month mark. Like it was like subtle things. Like I rewatched all my videos that I made because I did a video diary with that and a video diary with you guys too. And like it was like small things like, oh, I could stand and get dressed instead of leaning on the bed to get dressed. Like kind of small things. So I noticed like a really big reduction in symptoms. but it was really hard because it was all self-paced. So I didn't have the community, and I forget where I was going with that. Yeah, it was hard to stay motivated, basically. So that was kind of like how I discovered brain retraining. Sorry, I'm like doing a really long monologue, and
I love
you're
it.
you're doing really good at asking questions, so I'm gonna give you space.
No, I love it. I love it. And I think it's just so cool to hear how your story unfolded. And I was similar, right? Again, similar background. I was physical therapy,
Hmm.
but like you have this background. You've been really kind of trained in this one way of thinking about things. So even to get to the point where you're open to the brain retraining, and I was the same. I
Hmm.
was like, this is real. And that's what I think I want to say too here is that it's absolutely real
Hmm.
and it's brain and nervous system related. And that was hard for me
Hmm.
to let those things coexist. I couldn't really understand that the nervous system is real, it's physical, it affects all these physical symptoms in our body and everything that we're dealing with. But I just like really am grateful that you kind of broke down those stepping stones too, because for anyone who's listening in, I think one, let's normalize being skeptical. Let's normalize
Hmm.
having some doubt after everything we've been through
Hmm.
and, nothing's really worked. It's like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's like healthy, kind of healthy skepticism in a way. And I relate. It took me also listening. Raylan Eagle was like a shining light in
Yeah,
some really dark times for me too. So
absolutely.
I think it's worth it, to mention that for anyone that's listening in, because that's the goal. Let's find all these resources for recovery and let's like bring that all together. So I love that you're sharing that and that I'm so grateful that there's a program like ANS Rewire that was a stepping stone for you that laid that
Hmm.
foundation for you. And, people are recovering with all these different programs with that core focus on the nervous system. But I can hear you in how that kind of, I don't know, when you're, at least for me in my journey too, like when I was so debilitated and I had such limited function that really doing something that was like self-paced and that like I needed to keep going to and take that initiative, that was really tough. Like like you couldn't always even feel like I felt confident walking to the washroom. So it was difficult to set aside a certain amount of time or a certain amount of energy for something. So I don't know, what was kind of a shift for you then and how did you end up from where you were in ANS Rewire to, you had kind of heard of CFS recovery, but it was not an option at the time. How did you get from there to there? Talk about that journey a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, Miguel, I was just listening to one of Miguel's videos, and then he had a live video. Somehow I got onto a live video of Miguel. I don't really remember the details, but yeah, and he was like talking about, oh, I remember. Okay. I signed up for one of Miguel's free live videos on how to recover, where he talks about like responding well to symptoms. And I was like, okay, cool, free, like a free seminar. I'm gonna sign up. And then he offered like a 1 week free trial. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna sign up for the 1 week free trial. And like, thank God Miguel offered the 1 week free trial because like when you're in that state, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but like I was so scared of like spending a ton of money again for something that wouldn't work or like I wasn't sure of or I couldn't try out. Like it was just like I don't think I would have signed up if not for that 1 week free trial where I could meet you and meet the team and get the sense of community that I like resisted but actually like really needed and discovered I needed. So I signed up for the 1 week free trial. And at the time, my doctor was wanting to do this like really invasive research test where they put tubes into your heart, through your heart, into your lungs to measure your like lung blood pressure, basically, and have you run on a treadmill. And I'm like, I can barely walk to the bathroom.
Mm.
That sounds terrifying. Like, but I didn't tell her that, of course. But I was like terrified, and I was like, is that like what I need to do to figure out what's going on? And so the first call was with you, and I brought that up, and you're just like so reassuring to me. Like I was like crying, and you were like, just maybe like put it on hold, like maybe just you weren't offering like medical advice, but you were just grounding me in what I already didn't want to do, basically, and like validating how scary that sounded. And this sounds like uh really random and weird, but you were babysitting a stick bug.
Oh God, the stick bug.
I don't know, in my head. Maybe it was that space. Maybe it was a sign from God. But like I love stick bugs. Like I've always really loved stick bugs. And I was like, she has a stick bug. She's like super validating. Like she's helping all these people with their symptoms. And I just felt so comfortable on that call. And like it was kind of the first time I really felt hope. Like I saw other people talk about how they were making progress in that call, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. So it just felt like I wanted to do that. I was still like scared and not 100% sure, but I took the leap of faith to join CFS recovery after that.
I love this story so much because I my first thought was like, oh my gosh, I talked about the stick bug on the call. But I think that's like such an important part, if I may, of the Thriver community, of CFS recovery, of that. Like it's humans helping humans. It's
Hmm.
people who've literally been through it. We're real, like we're real, and we've been in your shoes. Like we know. Like that's something like everyone on the team, and that's part of why I'm where I'm at with CFS recovery is like everyone's been there. And you're not talking to someone who just
Hmm.
has read a chapter, or if there was a chapter in any of the medical
Yeah.
textbooks that I looked at, but it wasn't someone who had just read a chapter. It's someone who had lived it, sometimes for years, to have that experience too. And I don't know,
Hmm.
for me at least, and I want to hear your like thoughts on this, but I was actually surprised you kind of started to say this, but I was actually really resistant to like the calls in the community. Like I was just like, I don't
Yeah.
know. And then it ended up being something that I needed more than I even knew. So I don't know if maybe if that was something that stood out, or what were some of maybe the other things that surprised you once you were more in the community?
Yeah. So I forgot to mention the fact that all the coaches had recovered was like a really big thing for me to join too. Like, because you guys had experienced it, you had so much empathy, and I could tell that it was like a non-judgmental environment, which was so huge for me. But yeah, I remember like talking to you when I was signing up. I was like, I just want something where it's a one-on-one call and I don't need to like join the community or anything. Like I just was kind of resistant to it, even though like I'm so glad now that it is a community and like I love all the thrivers and like the environment is just so amazing. But I was resistant to it. I thought like I'm just gonna like seclude myself and go on like coaching calls and just figure this out myself when I was it was like surprising how much hope the other thrivers gave me, how much I learned from them. There's so many excellent questions that get asked that maybe you don't even think about. And I thought initially like group coaching calls like it's gonna be I'm gonna have the opportunity to ask like one question, like that's not a lot, but the truth is you actually learn so much more from the group coaching calls than one-on-one necessarily because like you don't know what you don't know and you like you kind of get the benefits of everybody's collective mind being put together, which is amazing. And I was surprised at like how much I loved hearing other thrivers' recovery stories, partnering with them in a way and listening to their wins every week and seeing them heal and recover. It was so inspirational to me.
So you've just done such an amazing job. It's so cool to see you go from that place of skepticism that we met in to here being with me on a call like this. And I mean,
Yeah.
you've really been through the trenches with this. And do you mind? I guess this is backtracking a little bit, but I remember listening to some of these recovery interviews, and it was so wild to me. Like here's this person full of hope and light, and talking about community and wins and all of these things. And I was like, what did they experience? Because I don't know if they had the same thing as me. Maybe I'm a little bit different. Do you mind
Yeah.
kind of just to backtrack in a little bit of what did that feel like when you were in that dark state? You know, what were those symptoms like? What was that experience like? Because here we're talking to you and you've got light in your eyes, you've got
Yeah.
energy and what was that like then when you were in that deeper place? Do you mind speaking to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was like doubtfully optimistic, if that makes sense. Like I was like, oh wow, like they can recover. That means I can recover too. But will I actually recover? Like, will these things actually work for me? And I think too, like when you're experiencing like the crushing pain, or like I was experiencing like crushing pain in my chest and like barely breathing. Like I couldn't really talk. When you're experiencing that and that's your reality, it's really hard to visualize yourself well again. Like it's hard to know that that is actually a reality. Especially like things kind of got progressively got worse for me up to that point. Like in a bit of a funny, like it's funny now, but like at the time it wasn't. Like so like yeah, I was like couch bound and I could I was like mustering the will to work from home a little bit, but as soon as I like saw results with brain retraining, I actually quit that because I just wanted to put my energy into getting well. But before that, like I was slowly getting worse and I'd be like thankful that I could talk. I was like, I'm so thankful I can talk to people because like I need it for my job. I can connect with my husband. And then and then I couldn't talk anymore. Like I couldn't talk longer than 10 minutes because I would get like just so fatigued in my voice. Like I would literally have to set a 30-minute timer at night with David for we'd call them like voice breaks. Like I needed a voice break in the evening. And then I'd be like, well, okay, I can't talk, but I'm so thankful that I can eat and I can enjoy my food. And then, and then because I couldn't breathe very well, I was compensating and with all these muscles, you would know that. And they would get so tight that I actually like couldn't swallow sometimes. So it was very scary. It's actually like as a dietitian, like I know that sometimes people can't swallow, but when you experience it, it's actually like pretty darn scary. Like you're like, how am I gonna eat? Like if I need a tube feed, like I can't even go go and get one. Like so like that happened, but and then I started working with a speech language pathologist and we set things up so that it was less strain on my voice and talking. But to be honest, I think part of why that happened was like how often I would cry. Like I would cry. I like cried probably 5 nights a week because I was just so hopeless and scared about what was going to happen to me. And like there's so much grief, like having your life hijacked and just like night and day. Like it was like living out a nightmare. So like I think all of that contributed, but it was like all these things I was grateful for just started like falling off.
Mhm.
And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm kind of scared to be grateful for anything. But sorry, I think I kind of like went down a rabbit hole
No, I think
from your
that's good.
question.
I think that's
Okay.
good because that's what like I think sometimes like when I would listen into these interviews, it was hard for me to connect with the person sometimes because they were in this place of kind of there was more light and hope and
Yeah.
optimism and
Hmm.
I needed, well, I don't know if I needed, but it definitely helped me to connect and be like, man, this is a person that was really, they were really in the
Yeah.
trenches. And I had
Yeah.
those same symptoms when I was early on in my journey and I was still trying to go back to work and physical therapy, just trying to have a phone call with my past employer and take just coordinate the time off and like say, I don't know
Yeah.
what's going. I couldn't, it would close up. I had that same thing with eating. It like
Yeah.
to sit propped up at all, to try to chew, swallow
Yeah.
food. It was like, and you do, your mind goes to all of those worst case
Hmm.
scenarios and it's wild. And I think, you know, kind of to pull it back to where we were with like the group calls, that was also so helpful for me in my own journey was that I could listen in because sometimes I couldn't always find my voice yet.
Hmm.
So I could hear other
Yeah,
people's questions. I could hear other people's win. And it would have been a different experience to just be in a one-on-one program with a coach just being like, yeah, I got better. And you're like, well, and then you get on these group calls though, and you're
yeah,
seeing the wins and you're seeing people that are all different stages. And then you don't
exactly.
necessarily even have to have that capacity yet to speak and participate. You can listen into other people's questions and start to put those
Hmm.
pieces together. And so I think it's just really important. And thank you for kind of being willing to kind of go into that place a little bit because I know our brains can really try to kind of protectively erase that a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, my brain definitely did. Like I really had to dig, dig and dig for like documents and like I have a few letters here that I wrote to doctors to like try to convince them there was something wrong. And like I'm really thankful that I have those because I just like had forgotten a lot of it because your brain does protect you, but it really is so dire and like I think other people might experience this too, but like I felt extremely guilty for how much of a burden I was to my husband and family, especially in the beginning. Like my husband and I had just gotten married like 2 years prior. So yeah, 2 years. So like we're pretty newlywed. And then to have to like cancel all of our plans to have a family, to travel, to like even to contribute to, like financially, like we just bought a house and had a mortgage. Like that guilt was really intense as well. And I actually thought about leaving him because I felt like I was making his quality of life like so bad that like I was like like actually it'd be better for you to be with somebody else. And then he was so scared too. Like he was thinking of leaving me too. And so like things get sticky with things like this. But eventually like our Christian roots kind of like kept us together and our love story is still going strong. So
amazing to have
um
someone to grow through something like this with. I know that had to not be an
yeah,
easy place for you guys. And I'm sure that you're
yeah.
not the only one. That's not an isolated experience. And so I really appreciate you sharing that. Did David,
Yeah.
did he get involved with you with the program or what did that look like? Or what did he?
Uh yeah, David has been so incredibly supportive. So kind of after like in the beginning he decided to like stay. It was just like kind of fear talking and like I did too. He like well before brain retraining like he was also really depressed and hopeless, but during brain retraining once we kind of knew what to do and had the principles in place, he was so incredibly supportive and like he still is so supportive. Like he's really carried me through this because like I couldn't even care for myself. Like he was my primary caregiver, making all the meals and which is so incredible. Like a lot of partners might think that what we're going through is just in our head or we're choosing not to do things or like almost like it's personal choice and there's not anything wrong, but like he really understood that there was something wrong and believed me and has just been like really kind and supportive. And like he's joined the caregiver calls once in a while too to listen in.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because we CFS Recovery added those in, right? When you were within the program, that's something that's a new feature. So I'm really excited to hear that too and how that helped David too. It had to help him navigate this because it's lonely and isolating for us, but then for
Yeah.
those that are our support and our caregivers in this journey, for them to have some support too. So thank you for
Yeah, absolutely. And he would listen in on the calls too. Like I'd be listening to them and he'd be cooking. So yeah, those caregiver calls are really awesome. They kind of helped navigate some dynamics with like his side of the family too, because they were able to join a few of them. So like the coaches do a really good job of making the caregivers understand like that specific person's limitations and how to interact with them to like support their recovery.
yeah.
Yeah.
So glad we have that resource now and that David was able to use that and lean on that a little bit too to help support you. So it's just all part of that upward spiral that we talk about. Well, let's fast forward then a little bit from where you were
Sure.
to more so where you are today. What kind of things can you do now that you couldn't do before? Let's talk about some of your wins and your progress. We can kind of start, maybe let's start physically, because I think those are the ones that people will really resonate, and we'll start there
Hmm.
and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So like when I joined like a year ago, and I've probably been doing like it's been like 2 years since my brain retraining journey. I, and that's like not to deter anybody. It's way better to start and slowly feel better than to just stay in the same place the whole time. So when I started, like I already mentioned, like couch bound, could barely walk to the bathroom, to now I'm going on like 2 20-minute walks a day. I have started working. I started working in September, so I'm running a virtual private practice as a dietitian, and it's the first time like I've been able to maintain it and it hasn't become a roadblock for me. So that's really exciting. And I know work can be like a really big thing for people too. I'm able to like move around the house. Last night I helped with like lawn care for an hour and repotting our giant aloe vera plant. And okay, I should think of some fun highlights too.
No, I was like,
When,
what about some of like you've done some of your like your mountain vacation, and I know you
yeah,
have like the awesome picture of you, and like this I think for someone with POTS, like you're up in trees picking apples, right? Like
yeah,
do I remember that right? I was like, you've had some
yeah.
really incredible wins, and maybe if you don't mind even
Okay,
sharing like your
I'll
your
share those.
accidental stand-up paddleboard, if you feel comfortable with that,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
totally.
an awesome one.
Okay, so I also went on a mountain vacation in August to this like small town called Grand Cache. I did a 30-minute really incline hike, which like there's no way, there's not a chance, like not a chance that could have ever happened, like when I started to Sulphur Gates. And then we also had this paddle board that we bought before I got sick. Like literally, I think it was like 2 weeks before I got sick, we bought this paddle board and it like had never been used uh since this trip. And so we went out and like David was paddling and I was just like sitting, enjoying the ride. And then I was like, I want to stand on the paddleboard and just get a picture. And then David is like, all right, I'll get the camera. And I'm standing there. And then it starts to like turn. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And it was really windy. So like I'm like going and there's a tree going in the water and I'm like paddling as hard as I can to like dodge this tree. And the wind is still kind of pulling me and I'm doing this like giant circle around the lake, running into like almost every obstacle. You can imagine like there's like logs and I was like, I gotta dodge these logs. Oh my gosh. And then eventually I came back and landed and like came in so hard I hit the shoreline and like fell. But like to be able to do that and like kind of save myself and like kind of like dodge these obstacles and like paddle pretty hard against the wind was like a really big win. And it was unplanned.
Yeah,
too.
like just like not on purpose, just like, and to be able to like respond well to something like that and be okay with that and going from that place of
Mhm.
like you said, like that extreme exercise intolerance and everything that you were dealing with,
Yeah.
be able to do like surprise paddle boarding is a
Yeah.
really big transformation moment, really big milestone. What else did I want to ask you? I
Oh
guess,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that, oh, about the apples. And yeah, we don't have to include everything, but so I went to my dad's house and picked apples and like his tree is like so prolific. It's like, like how grapes have like bundles? The apples are like almost like that along the branches. Like it's just so many apples. And like it's cool because the year prior I went and helped, but I just kind of watched. But this year I was like up on the ladders picking the apples and like cheering my sisters on, and like I just went and picked apples for like 2 hours and was okay after. Super fun.
It's amazing. And you know what I do want to kind of highlight here, and I know I know we're going long, but I think it's so important to normalize a longer timeline for recovery because I know
Yeah.
like that was something that was helpful for me. I did see progress and glimmers and like big shifts.
Hmm.
But then, like the whole package, that can take time. And I think just
Hmm.
normalizing that. So when people listen in and they're like, it's taking me a year or 2 years, but I'm seeing some progress, I'm seeing steady progress, to not be deterred by that, that doesn't
Hmm.
mean necessarily you're doing anything wrong. It's like time, it's going to happen on its own timeline. And so I just appreciate you highlighting that and normalizing that too in the community that, yeah, we see some of these like quick transformations, but I would say that
Hmm.
I would say that, maybe not the majority, but maybe as I'm thinking about it, it is that over time, that's brain retraining, that's neuroplasticity, right? It's that
Hmm.
consistency and that repetition, but that other component is time. And so if you're listening in and you're thinking, it's been this many years or whatever, like to normalize that for yourself and take that pressure off around the timeline.
Hmm. Yeah, I felt that pressure too, like, because I have been in the program for over a year, so I did see people who recovered quicker than I did. Like they were like moving into integrations, and I was still doing the fundamentals calls. And it was like kind of felt like, oh, like, am I doing something wrong? Like, why am I not progressing so as fast as some other people? But what I kind of realized was that it's a bit of a gift to have recovery take a little bit longer, because as you recover, some of those old habits and patterns start to come back. Like I noticed as I started getting more capacity, I'd like kind of zoom through things and rush and like plan a lot of things that you know what it's like. And when your recovery is a little bit slower, you have more time to interrupt those patterns and to retrain and balance your life and overcome like certain fears. So like a big fear of mine is like around finances and work and like abandonment with provision. It's like
Yeah.
kind of what I would call it. And I had time to work through that because of my recovery taking a bit longer. And it's actually such a gift. Like I chose, and like I know I'm like so thankful. I know it's a privileged position to be in, to be able to like choose not to work, to focus on health. But it was such a gift to have recovery take a bit longer and choose not to work and choose to tell myself that I'm safe, like without working. Like that was just like one thing that I got to work through because it did take longer. So,
I think this is huge. I think I was just about to ask you for golden nuggets, and I don't know if you just do that, but that was one of the biggest golden nuggets that I could even imagine coming out of our call together, is that longer timeline is a gift. And sometimes it takes
mhm,
a while to unravel some of those survival mechanisms that we'd been working with, sometimes for our whole lives, and we've worked a lot.
mhm,
We've had a lot of calls. I know you've been on calls with Coach Junior as well, but like working through the scarcity mindset and starting to
mhm,
find abundance and working through some of these
mhm.
fears, and some of this stuff can be deep rooted stuff. And so I
Yeah.
think that's a beautiful way to look at this, is that this was a gift that let you build such a solid foundation, and shifting, not that you're not going to get there, because I have no doubt you're going to live that life completely without limits, but you have a skill that like that's yours forever, to like live life in that
Mhm,
balanced way. That's something that's yours, that you're taking with you. And it's, I don't know, it was part of, for me, it was like just, I don't know, it felt whole and
mhm,
balanced in a way that I didn't experience, and that I was frankly like really
mhm.
surprised came out of the journey.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
Me too. Like my main motivation to get better was to work, and it changed. Yeah,
I guess if you could, now where
completely.
you're at today, go back to the version of you when you were in the trenches, like at your lowest point, what's something you would love
Yeah.
to tell yourself?
Oh, man, that it's gonna be okay. You're gonna get through this. And the journey you go on is actually such a gift. Like your life is never going to be the same. You're going to be able to value the pleasures in life. You're not going to be like beholden to other people's opinions or what society says you're deemed valued by. Like just a lot of like scales came off throughout recovery. Like feeling like I always had to be productive to be valued, or feeling like I needed other people to like me. to be valued. Like a lot of it's like a complete flip, like where a lot of my self came externally, but now myself comes internally. Like I can be like I can be my own best friend. Like if something's going on, I can like comfort myself. I can choose what I want. I'm not beholden to these external factors. I mean, it's always a work in progress, but like that is such a gift, and I know that I'm going to enjoy my life so much more. Like I'm actually gonna like have find pleasure in living. It's kind of like when you everything is taken away from you, everything that's added on is like a bonus. There's so much to be grateful for. Like my life will never be the same, like truly.
Ah, and like that was scary, like when I would hear that early on, but it's in the best and most beautiful way. And you said that so beautifully and so powerfully. We almost made it through without tears, but that that was beautiful, Chelsea. And like, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know that this, I don't know. It's like we start this journey to get rid of symptoms and to just get our life back, and this incredible transformation can take place.
hmm
So thank you so much for sharing that. And if I guess we'll kind of get to this point where like if there's anyone who's listening in who's, maybe just even like tentatively thinking about brain retraining or neuroplasticity and they're really on the fence, is there anything else that you'd like to share or that you wish you could have heard when you were listening in on like Raylan Eagle's channel or, anything that you want to share that's on your mind?
hmm Yeah, I'd say just try it. No matter how skeptical you are, even if it's to prove it doesn't work, just give it a try. Like you're willing to like spend so much money on supplements and like do all the desperate things that you heard me do. Just give it a valiant effort for at least 3 to 6 months, and if you start to notice improvements, then that's your evidence that it's working, and I'm really confident that you will. Yeah.
And I just like so many golden nuggets out of this conversation because that's something too I'm going to just kind of highlight. I needed to hear that too. So to anyone listening who needs to hear that, you don't need 100% belief
Mm-mm.
to begin
No.
and start to see changes. You just need enough belief to just start to take those next forward steps and just start there. It's like really builds little by little because sometimes I would hear in other spaces that you have to have 100% belief or it's just not going to work for you at all. But it's that little by little, it's that gray area that we talk about on the calls of like, this isn't
hmm
something that's going to happen overnight, but you can start where you're at and take those next kind of, even if they're tentative steps, that's okay. They're still steps. Oh, that was incredible.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Well, that was amazing, Chelsea. That was incredible. Is there anything else that I didn't ask?
That was a quote that I wanted to share
Yeah.
that kind of like resonated with me. It's like super random,
Oh,
but it's from
so-
Saint Black Madonna. But she is the promise that what doesn't survive the fires of suffering was never meant for us. And that's really what I feel like this journey is just everything that wasn't meant to be in our life gets burnt up and we get to like come out. I guess I'm picturing like a phoenix, but like you just get this opportunity to reclaim and recreate your life the way you want it
It's beautiful.
for happiness. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And that's very much what I felt too going through this journey. It's like you
Mhm.
really everything that you weren't gets burned away essentially and in that
Yeah.
struggle and in that suffering and you don't know it when you're going through the burning part. And then there's this other part where you're kind of rising through those ashes and it's still messy. And you're still kind
Yeah.
of covered and you're not certain. You're in that transitional phase,
Yeah.
but you do come through it. And I just get that sense of for you that like this is amazing.
Yeah.
It's been beyond amazing to get to be with you on this journey. Just thank you so
Thank you.
much, Chelsea. I just wanted to say that and to everyone that's listening in, this call was genuinely it was full of so much golden nuggets, so many deep insights. And so I hope you've got some value and some inspiration from our conversation today. And I think it's just an important reminder too that Chelsea and myself we're humans just like you. We're humans with a human nervous system, very human. And so we've been in your shoes and we know what it's like to be in that that rock bottom place with your health, and that it's temporary, that it absolutely can be temporary. And we've seen hundreds of people, inside the CFS recovery community recovering, not to mention thousands of other people recovering all around the world every day. So just know recovery is possible. And we're going to keep sharing these stories of transformation with you guys and recovery voices. So thank you so much for listening. And if you feel up to it, please leave a comment below and share one of your biggest takeaways, something that really stuck out to you from this video. And of course, if you did feel like you did need some extra support on your recovery journey, we'll put a link down below and you can check that out and see if it's a good fit for you. But always remember that you are a thriver and you are just one mind shift away from your life of thriving health. Thank you.
Where like I can feel my body's like panicking, but like I'm not, and like I just can't really control it. That one is hard. Then like the exercise intolerance kind of just like exacerbates everything, and yeah, that one sucks too. But like when I stand, my heart rate will just like skyrocket over 40 beats per minute, sometimes like 50 to 60. It's kind of insane.
This is your reporting, and we're tracking that, and we're seeing that improvement in both your physical and your cognitive.
Wow.
And that's so cool.
That's so amazing. It looks like so steady too. I think I'm in an AP right now. Like things just feel heavier and I'm more short of breath when I get up and stuff. But so there's that. But like overall, like my capacity has really increased. Like the 20-minute walks at the dog park.
Awesome.
Like 2 days in a row. That's like pretty good. So. Awesome. Yeah, and like going out to the stores and stuff. I feel like I've maybe plateaued a little bit, but I'm also kind of getting out of this adjustment period. So I'm probably doing like a 20-minute walk, whether it's at the store or a dog park once a week. I'm doing really well. Like, I'm just having a lot more like normal days where I don't even really think about recovery. But yeah, and then I kind of wanted to share that I had a doctor's appointment with the doctor who like she's the one who diagnosed me with chronic fatigue syndrome. She looked over my like cardiac MRI and like she was like, yes, you did have myocarditis at that point, but she like validated and confirmed that like I don't have it anymore. It was a really good appointment. Just like, okay, like breath of fresh air, like I'll be okay. She is the promise that what doesn't survive the fires of suffering was never meant for us. That's really what I feel like this journey is everything that wasn't meant to be in our life gets burnt up and we get to like come out. I guess I'm picturing like a phoenix, but like you just get this opportunity to reclaim and recreate your life the way you want it.
I hear the whisper